Good evening, friends, and welcome to another late night edition of Crime. Wait a minute, it's not late. Welcome to an edition of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. You know the drill. We're retired New York City police detectives and 9/11 World Trade Center first responders. If you like all things true crime related from the police detective's perspective, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, so you get all things DutyRon and this guy right here, Ed Wallace, when we go live or upload another video. Tonight, we're going to be talking about day 14 of the Karen Read trial. Yes, Sgt Bukhenik was on the stand for day 3. And day 3 was no different than day 1 and 2. This guy was talking out both sides of his mouth. He wasn't answering questions. He even went as far as saying that Trooper Proctor handled this investigation with integrity and respect. But when pressed, he changed his mind.
Yeah, I don't know how anybody can toe that line. Is it day 3 or day 4? I'm so confused with this guy. It seems like he's been on here forever. And
day 3 or day 4, it's just as tough to take.
Well, I don't think he's done yet because she didn't dismiss him. She shut down court today. You know, she got pissed off at the recross, and she said she looked like she really wanted to rush out of there for whatever reason.
No, Ed, I listened back with headphones just before I came live with you. She said, "Sergeant, you're done. You don't have to come back here tomorrow."
She did say that? Because I didn't catch it. Yeah.
Let us know in the chat if Auntie Bev dismissed Sgt Bukhenik. But I believe she did. If my memory serves me correct, I heard her say, "Sergeant, you're all done. You don't have to come back tomorrow. It's going to be a new witness for the state, the Commonwealth tomorrow." So, Ed, I wanted to get your take. Forensics 101, he talked a little bit about, and I want to go into it right now, but he did talk about going to the hospital, and he was touching on a little bit of crime scene 101, and I don't think he spoke correctly.
Oh, no, he did not. He does, he does know some things, but again, this is another case of a little knowledge being very dangerous. But depending on who you listen to, because I've been doing a lot of research, they can do a thorough investigation when they want to, but it appears they didn't want to in this case.
In this particular case, yeah.
It appears they got marching orders, and they were hoping, I guess, for her to take a plea. And so they didn't just follow any of the normal procedures. And I think they wanted that ability to keep evidence and to keep reports unfinished and open in case they had to change something.
Yeah.
That's the sense I'm getting. Okay. But, for the prosecutor to try to rehabilitate this witness after 3 days of brutal cross-examination, and making this look very foolish because, he was, fighting tooth and nail about everything. He wouldn't concede anything, even discovery materials given to the defense attorney by the prosecutor. He said, "Well, I can't trust that document. I don't know the source of that."
And there was a couple of points, Ed, where he actually had an uncomfortable amount of silence where AJ asked him some questions, and he asked him a question. He just looked him that blank stare, and AJ said, "Are you going to answer the question?" And he said, "Did you ask me a question?" This was, I think, 2 days ago on Friday. And it was an uncomfortable moment. Let us know in the chat if you recall that. It was just a moment of silence that was very uncomfortable. Mary sends in a $10 super chat and says, you ever notice that Yuri Bukhenik has amnesia with AJ, but no memory loss with Brennan? Well, he's prepped with Brennan, so he knows the questions that Brennan is going to ask him pretty much. Right, Ed?
Yes.
So when the defense gets a hold of him, he's not prepped for what they're going to come at him with. Let's listen to this little piece, and then we'll go into it. This gives an overview of the day.
Jurors and the rest of the world now seeing new evidence. Jurors and the rest of the world now seeing new evidence in the Karen Read case. Video that shows ATF agent Brian Higgins in the Canton Police Department.
Hey, Ed, I wanted to just tell you, just be ready for this. You see these little, Ed just stepped out for a minute, so I'm talking to myself. I just want you guys in the chat to know, a lot of people were saying like these footsteps were blood marks. He was coming in and from out of the snow. I didn't see anything on his face. Somebody said they saw something on his face. I'm sure that there'll be a lot of different theories and what happened. This is never been seen, at least by me, never seen before. Video of Brian Higgins going back into the Canton Police Department on the evening of, in the early morning hours of the fateful day, 1/29 of 2022. So interesting, to say the least, and this is what we're going to be looking at and talking about.
Seeing new evidence in the Karen Read case, video that shows ATF agent Brian Higgins in the Canton Police Department and the morning John O'Keefe dies. You may recall Higgins traded flirtatious text messages with Read. Thanks for staying with us. I'm Lisa Hughes.
And I'm David Wade. The defense team is using that piece of video to try to raise suspicion with jurors. WBZ's Christina Rex is at Dedham Superior Court to show us how Read's team chipped away at the prosecution's case today.
Do you recognize the person in this video?
It appears to be Mr. Brian Higgins.
Newly released video inside and around the Canton Police Station shows Brian Higgins around 1:30 in the morning the night of John O'Keefe's death.
I think this is what people are like saying, like he almost looks like a scary clown here with like Wade Wilson tattoos. But the people I think we're talking about around his mouth, it looks red, and over here looks red. And I could see what they're saying, but this again is video footage that is rebroadcast through software and broadcast through CBS Boston. This isn't, the most clear footage that you would get direct from the DVR. But I think this is a little bit of what people were talking about right there.
Yeah, and those cameras are not good either.
Yeah. And people saying something on his right shoe. No, look at his right shoe.
But if I may say something here, this starts out with the security footage around the Canton Police Department out in the parking lot, and he pulls in with his Jeep, okay, with the plow on it. And when he gets out of the Jeep, he's on the phone. He's texting somebody initially by the Jeep. Now, I don't know if those text messages were a part of his cell phone dump that he did with his lawyer.
Yeah.
Okay. And gave over to the investigators, the sergeant and Proctor. And then later on, when he's leaving, he's calling somebody. He's on the phone. So where's those texts? Who did he text, and who did he call?
But they didn't pull his cell phone records, Ed. So that's the crazy part. And it's not saying that they can't still pull the cell phone records, but I doubt they're going to do it. People are saying that looks like Higgins, Albert. I think the defense and the prosecution, if they felt that it was two different people, I think we would have heard about it. But I think it's just people speculating. But this person has been identified through testimony today, and Alan Jackson Crossing as is Brian Higgins. All right,
one more thing. We don't know what that room is. It was never clarified what that room is. Somebody needs to find out what that room is. Is that a locker room, or is that an evidence room? Did he go in that room to change clothes? Did he go in that room? Because he was only in there for a minute, according to the timestamp.
Didn't he state on a text string to Karen Read that he has an office at Canton and that he is going to go there? But he's really not in here a long time.
Yeah, but that's a different time. But he does, when he gets drunk, he goes to this office and he sleeps it off in his office here. Yeah. But I mean, what's in this room? Did he go in there and maybe get a Faraday bag and then head back to the scene? Because when he comes out, he goes back into the parking lot and he's got the keys to two additional cars that are in the parking lot next to his Jeep, because he starts opening the doors for those cars and he starts cleaning the snow off of them and turning lights on.
Yeah, there's some kind of lettering here of what this room is, and it says it. I know that they know what room that is. The the defense and the prosecution knows what room he went into, but it didn't come up. So let's let this play.
Can we zoom in on it?
Yeah, right here. I can see two labels right here. One.
Yeah, I know. Can you zoom in on it?
No, you can't. It's blurry.
Hold on. Hold on.
Recognize the person in this video?
It appears to be Mr. Brian Higgins.
Newly released video inside and around the Canton police station shows Brian Higgins around 1:30 in the morning the night of John O'Keefe's death. After leaving 34 Fairview, he starts some parked cars and appears to use his cell phone. This video, one new piece of evidence from 2 full days of cross-examination of State Trooper Yuri Bukhenik. The defense grilled him about the investigation and how he handled the text messages of his subordinate, Michael Proctor.
That in your view, Michael Proctor handled himself in this investigation with integrity. That's what you said, correct?
That's correct. That text message does not show integrity.
Do you think it shows honor? A word I expect you hold dear.
That text message does not show honor.
The jury also saw internal Sallyport video of Karen Read's car, which the last trial revealed had been inverted, a mirror image, sparking outrage among supporters who believe Karen Read was framed. This shot of Read's parents arriving to court among a group of her fans.
Hey, you ready for some inverted video?
You know, I'm not even going to make a comment about it.
Defense alleges that in the 8 to 10 minutes captured on camera, Michael Proctor could have dismantled Karen Read's taillight and planted the evidence at the crime scene 1.5 miles away, a claim prosecutors tried to rebut.
When you were at the Canton Police Department and you had brought the Lexus back, did you ever see Michael Proctor leave the Canton Police Department without you?
No.
One thing is clear, Sgt Bukhenik played a much larger role in this retrial. But why?
In this case, he's essentially serving the purpose of a surrogate for Michael Proctor. The Commonwealth, it appears, is unlikely to call Trooper Proctor at all. We don't know if the defense will.
I don't have any comment. Thank you.
So I ask, do you know if your team will call Proctor, Karen?
Karen's not answering questions today.
I think it's a smart bet for her not to talk from here on out. And her defense attorney, Yannetti, made that statement. Karen's not talking today. I don't think we'll hear her make any more comments or things of that nature because prosecution, as we see, is using it against her. Right, Ed?
I believe that's correct, yes.
Let's let the rest of this play because this just goes over the rest of the day. And I have some of the points. I took some notes. I got like 4 pages. They are small pages, but I have 4 pages of notes. Yeah, Karen Read saying anything at this point going forward, it's almost like just let me throw you a bone. You know, let me help the prosecution, the Commonwealth. So I think she should zip it and let her attorneys, who are very, very capable and are doing, as far as I'm concerned, and I think, Ed, you agree, her attorneys are doing a fantastic job. And if we had a scorecard, Karen Read's attorneys, her attorneys are winning, as far as I'm concerned.
Read's availability to the media has been a centerpiece of the Commonwealth's case against her.
The Commonwealth has repeatedly used statements from her and theoretically could use anything she says outside of court. So probably good advice to just stay quiet.
And after 3 full days on the witness stand, the longest of any witness so far in this retrial, Sergeant Yuri Bukhenik is finally finished with his testimony. A new witness will take the stand first thing tomorrow morning.
There you have it, Ed. There's your answer. Sergeant Bukhenik is done. I did listen and I did hear that right. Sleuthy, yes, I have my cop notepad. Just the facts, ma'am. Just the facts, sir. Let's go. Let's get to it. Listen, they opened up today with Sergeant Bukhenik on the stand. And they started at 10 a.m., which is later than they usually start at 9. And one of the first points that Alan Jackson went at him with was about the snowplow driver and that he saw a Ford Edge in front of 34 Fairview. Then they talked about the One Meadows Ring video doorbell footage and that someone accessed it. He was alluding to, but never got the point across because, of course, Auntie Bev is playing defense for the Commonwealth. She shut him down when he was asking who had access to John O'Keefe's phone, which we know it was Trooper Proctor, and he was trying to allude that Proctor deleted some video that was important. And then the third point that she started was the response by Sgt Bukhenik to the hospital, and he started going over the injuries on John O'Keefe's arm and talking about lividity. So, I think maybe we'll kind of jump to that point, because that's something I think, Ed, you have some things to say about. And then after that, they talked about where they actually took her Lexus into custody, took it away from her, took the key fob, and then they started talking about the text messages. And that went on for a long time, about the vile text messages that Trooper Proctor sent to Sergeant Bukhenik, along with the lieutenant and 2 other troopers, in a group chat. And he claimed that he was wearing an Apple Watch and that he only liked the message because he didn't see it. I went to my son, who's got an Apple phone and an Apple Watch, and he said, "Dad, I get to see the full text message. I can go like this and scroll down. I can even type it back from the watch." So Sergeant Bukhenik is full of shit. He's lying under oath, and he is full of shit. And let us know in the chat if you feel the same way, that he is basically raising his right hand. I put my left hand up, raising his right hand and sworn under oath to tell the truth, the whole truth. So help me God. And he's full of shit. He's lying. Ed, I know you got a lot to say.
I'd like to back up a little bit, because during the cross-examination about the Ring app on the phone, he was able to produce, because of the warrant that Proctor had sent Ring, the information about what transpired with that phone over a period of time, that app rather, and what transpired with the Ring camera. And at the time, it showed that when Proctor had the phone, Proctor opened up the app, and there was some manipulation of the app in John O'Keefe's phone. So
Yeah, and are we supposed to trust Trooper Proctor? Is Trooper Proctor a trustworthy guy, Ed?
Nope, not in the least.
Does that get a?
Oh, hell no.
Okay. Yes, it gets a hell no. And then it was interesting, because the sergeant was saying that there was bruises on Officer John O'Keefe's arm. And in fact, there were no contusions or bruises. Okay. And when they brought up that, oh God, you threw me off here, because somebody in the chat changed their name to, oh my God. Did you see that? Ed Wallace's socks, AKA Franny.
Yeah, of course. That's Franny Melville. That's Franny Melville.
Oh, you got me, Franny.
Yeah.
So they were saying bruises. And when they showed the picture of the arm, what he was saying were bruises were in fact lividity. So then AJ questioned Trooper Proctor, Sergeant Proctor, about lividity, and he had the answer. He knew the correct forensic answer to lividity. Okay. Wow. And, so I said, oh, okay. But the way that lividity was shown in that photograph, because it was lying, Officer John O'Keefe was lying on the hospital gurney. Okay. That lividity shows the position that John had to have been in when that lividity became set. Okay. And it wasn't face up. And so he was going down that road, AJ was, to get a little more questions in, but lifeguard Bev stepped in and, pulled the rug out from under him. So I believe on the defense case in chief, they will be bringing in pathologists to talk about whether he had multiple sets of lividity. Because if he has multiple sets of lividity, that will show that his body was in a position for a period of time, and before the lividity could set, it was repositioned. And then you have 2 different sets of lividity, and one of them is defying gravity.
Right.
Okay. So that should be interesting testimony that should pop up on the defense attorney's case in chief. Okay.
Let's take a listen to what Trooper Sergeant Bukhenik said today about what he saw in the hospital, and then we'll come back to it, Ed. Makeup Mobster, good to see you. I'm glad you caught alive. I've seen your messages in the chat. Ed, somebody asked you quickly before I put this on, what is a Faraday bag? Can you just...
Yeah, sure. Faraday bags are what we use to collect computers, cell phones, and other digital electronic evidence that can connect to internet and cellular networks. Once you place them in this bag, or there's a Faraday box, you place it in the box, then it stops all signals from entering the phone or coming from the device out. It just blocks it so that nobody can remotely gain access to the device and start erasing things and deleting things remotely.
There you go. Hey, I want to just thank Ole Miss for the $50. She says, love you guys. Free Karen FKF from Hattiesburg, Mississippi. Thank you so much for the support, and thank you for the message. Pro Gamer, thank you for becoming a member. Let's listen to this.
Files. There is a login session report that was produced by the Marine Corporation as well. It's highlighted on that page.
Number 4 is highlighted with one Excel file containing login session information.
Thank you. May I approach?
Yes.
You indicated that you saw bruising on his right arm in addition to the abrasions, the parallel abrasions that you described, correct?
I believe bruising is very similar to abrasion.
Okay, that's my question. Can we, Your Honor, with the court's permission, can
I just want everybody to know that Ed Wallace is in the studio shaking his head.
we show
Yes,
exhibit 1?
they are not the same thing.
Thank you. I want to go right to the beginning of this, and I have it set at 139.50. Hold on, let me get this right. There it is. We'll back it up just a minute. Yeah, that should be it right there.
Indicate that now.
Thank you. I want to ask you a couple of questions about your testimony on direct examination related to your trip to the hospital and your observation specific to Mr. O'Keefe's right arm. You indicated that you saw bruising on his right arm in addition to the abrasions, the parallel abrasions that you described, correct?
I believe bruising is very similar to abrasion.
Okay, that's my question. Can we, Your Honor, with the court's permission, can we show exhibit 1? It's already been introduced. Is this a fair and accurate depiction of what you saw in terms of the condition of Mr. O'Keefe's arm while at the hospital, if not exactly like this?
Yes, it is.
Okay. What did you mean when you said you saw bruising on his arm? What were you talking about?
I actually indicated bruising on his right hand, the back of his right hand.
Okay, that's fair enough. From his wrist, when I say arm, can we agree, at least for this purpose for the purposes of this discussion, that I mean from the wrist up to the shoulder?
Mm-hmm.
Did you see any bruising from the wrist to his shoulder?
I saw exactly what's depicted there with the abrasions and lacerations.
Okay. You know what lividity is, correct?
And I wanted to stop it right there. Right where my cursor is, am I going crazy? It looks like yellow bruising here, and then there's red bruising up here at his bicep. Do you see where my cursor is going?
That's the lividity.
Okay. So I think Alan Jackson was trying to direct him to these locations here where...
Above that, yes, up towards the shoulder. From that last wound up towards the shoulder.
Okay. And he was not catching on to that. It didn't seem that he had an understanding of what he was asking.
For the purposes of this discussion, but I mean from the wrist up to the shoulder.
Mm-hmm.
Did you see any bruising from the wrist to his shoulder?
I saw exactly what's depicted there with the abrasions and lacerations.
Okay. You know what lividity is, correct?
I do.
Okay. Describe for the jurors what lividity is.
Lividity is the pooling of blood inside the body as a deceased individual falls or is positioned naturally with gravity. Blood begins to settle in the lowest portions of the body. If you're laying face down, it'd be your face. It also contours to the imprint or the force that's exerted on the body from below. If someone's deceased on TV remote control. You can see the remote control, the buttons underneath from the pressure.
So it's a bluish, purplish discoloration of the skin, not from an impact, but from the pooling of blood after the heart stopped, correct?
That's correct.
You see an area at the upper arm that the skin looks discolored in addition to the abrasions that we see.
I'm sorry, I was looking at that one.
Oh, sure. I'm sorry. Yes. Right up toward the upper biceps, triceps area.
I see that area, yes.
Okay. Is that consistent with lividity rather than bruising?
I would not agree with that, no.
You believe that that's a bruise?
I believe that that's a laceration.
I'm sorry. I'm talking about the discoloration of the skin, the reddish purplish hue of the skin, separate and apart from the abrasion, from the abrasions or lacerations to the skin. The discoloration. Do you see that discoloration or no?
I do not know.
You do not?
I do not know.
Okay, we can take that down. As you sit here today,
Ed, I see you going crazy in the background there.
Well, first of all, he's not a medical expert. He's not a forensics guy. That's clear. Okay. So I think AJ was just trying to clear up the fact that there is no bruises, right? And if you would have gotten hit by a car, okay, at 25 miles an hour like that, as they said in the first trial, in reverse, there'd be a lot more damage to that arm and the shoulder, and there may be some broken bones. There would definitely be some contusions and so forth. But as we look at that arm and that upper injury by the shoulder, everything above that purplish, bluish hue, as AJ says, is what I know to be lividity. And the pathologist that will be coming to testify for the defense, because remember, the medical examiner is not being called by the prosecutor.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's another interesting story, because it's already come out in evidence that in the text messages and so forth that, you know, the troopers tried to bully that pathologist to change her manner of death.
Yeah. And we played the video from Melanie Little with the dog bite expert. And he looked at this, and again, like I said, over 2 million plus subscribers on his channel. He's not a true crime channel. He actually got brought into this case by Melanie because she wanted a dog bite expert. She wanted someone to look at this. And when she brought him on, he was like, that 100% is indicative of dog bite, not a pedestrian vehicle strike. So, I mean, you look at these injuries, and I don't know, man. There's a lot of intelligent people who follow this case. And we always say, like, if this is, like, law is not our forte, you know, we're not attorneys. We always yield to attorneys. When we talk about forensic anthropology, we grab an anthropologist because Ed's got a Rolodex a mile long. So we'll grab people from the trades and have them come on. And I think that's really where Melanie got that thought process. I think that, you know, because early on when Melanie first started, she was co-hosting with me when you were on the road, and she got to see how the best practice. And I know she's such a smart person. She grabbed this guy, and it was valuable information. And we played a little part of what he said about this. And again, as you said, Ed, no broken bones. And to have the medical examiner come on and discredit the Commonwealth by not giving them what they want to present, that's why they're picking and choosing who they're having come on to testify for them in the second go around, right?
Yeah, yeah. And the defense is going to be calling some of the prosecution witnesses from the first trial because the prosecutors are not bringing them back.
Right. So I want to ask people in the chat, what's your thoughts? Does this look like road rash? Does this look like someone who, as the trooper Paul, and I hate to bring him back up because I actually feel a little bad for him, but I feel bad and then I don't, because if you're a trooper and you know, and your expertise is, okay, what are you pulling out? What's happening here? It always does this to me.
Getting hit with something like this at 20, as Trooper Paul said, about 24, 26 miles an hour. If your arm hit this, Do you think it's going to make those types of injuries?
Negative.
Okay.
No
And
road.
do you think that arm getting hit by something like this at 26 miles an hour, okay, with no bruises, with no fractures of the bones, okay, there's no contusions here, right? There's no blood vessels that are bursting under the skin and creating the bruises that we all know, okay?
Yeah.
This polycarbonate is not going to do that, okay?
Don't bang on it again.
We'll get back to this light later because I want to do a demonstration for you.
Okay. All right. Great. So Uncivil Law is in the chat, and he has been covering his case for a long, long time, along with attorney Melanie Little as well. But yeah, there's just so much to unpack here. Trooper Paul was, again, one of the many clowns in this circus for the Massachusetts State Police. And I don't say that really, I don't like to say it, but unfortunately, all of, I would say, a great deal of the witnesses that were called up by the Commonwealth from the Massachusetts State Police were embarrassments. And I hate to say that, but we call the balls and strikes here, Ed. We're not going to take favorite, sides just because we're law enforcement. We're not going to. You see something like what was done in this case, straight from the Canton PD, right across the board to the state police and the CERT team that came in there. It just it's disheartening to see this. And who pays the price? John O'Keefe, police officer John O'Keefe, and his family. So that's what makes this really sad. But these are not. This is not indicative of someone that was hit by a vehicle and thrown. What did they say? 30-something feet, or somehow some ridiculous number, and a shoe was one shoe on, one shoe off. Like, come on, give me a break.
And there would be more injuries than just to the arm. The shoulder would be ribs would be broken. There'd be all kinds of manner of things. I mean, you could even sever the aorta or any number of organ issues. We don't have that here. Okay. Yeah. Another thing too. Judge Bev, lifeguard Bev. I'm not going to call her a judge anymore because I'll call her lifeguard Bev. Okay, she's the lifeguard for the Commonwealth. She is doing so many things that I have never seen in a homicide trial. She's allowing the defense attorney to go beyond the scope in redirect, right? So after the cross comes redirect, and she allows him to meander out of those areas that he's not supposed to go into. She allows all manner of hearsay for the prosecution. Okay, it's just blowing my mind. None of these videos should have made it into the court trial. None of them, because you don't have the original file and you don't have the metadata for any of the videos from the Canton PD, Sallyport, and these other things. And these videos that we're seeing now that were of the parking lot at Canton PD, inside of Canton PD, with Higgins walking down the hall. All of these videos were on a flash drive in Proctor's desk drawer from before the trial, the first trial. Yeah. And never given over as discovery, and never, I mean, a Brady violation, the lawyers would say, as we say, it was hidden by Proctor. Okay. What else was hidden, right? And when wait till we get to those videos from the Sallyport, wait till you see all of a sudden magically appearing in the photograph is the late chief of the Canton PD. And then one of the maintenance workers with a broom just pops into the video out of nowhere. Like he just, like Star Trek, he just materialized after being beamed down from Enterprise.
The crazy part about this, Ed, is that we heard, here in the retrial and also in the first trial, and in Karen Read 2.0 and Karen Read 1.0, we heard Trooper Proctor say in the text string between him and his sister, and also other friends, that this has to be clear cut and what did he say? A ground ball or something. This has to be he has to make it as simple as possible. All eyes are on him, and that's some of the reason why you see, and we're seeing, everything there was shortcuts done. They went and took the long way home. But let's listen to a little more of this because we have a lot to cover here. On civil law, I work full time. That's why we do these nighttime recaps. So during the day, it's tough for me. That's why I don't stream the trial. I work full time. Otherwise, I'd be happy to come on with you, Ed and I. If you do something at nighttime, when we're not doing something, we definitely come on. So thank you for that offer. If I could, I definitely would.
What did you mean when you said you saw bruising on his arm? What were you talking about?
I actually indicated bruising on his right hand, the back of his right hand.
Okay, that's fair enough. From his wrist, when I say arm, can we agree, at least for this purpose, for the purposes of this discussion, that I mean from the wrist up to the shoulder?
Mm-hmm.
Did you see any bruising from the wrist to his shoulder?
I saw exactly what's depicted there with the abrasions and lacerations.
Okay. You know what lividity is, correct?
I do.
Okay. Describe for the jurors what lividity is.
Now, the actual time of the seizure through the video, we learned much later. So the approximate time, 5:30, although inaccurate, I did not take any action to correct it, no.
And you received 17.
This is when he was talking about the seizure of the car, Ed. I mentioned it quickly, but essentially Trooper Proctor, disgraced former Trooper Proctor, I hate to even refer to him as Trooper Proctor, but fired Trooper Proctor, put in his report that we seized Karen Read's Lexus at 5:30 p.m. when in fact they did. It was 4:12 p.m. and he just brushes this off as it was just an oversight, but he never corrected it. It's an oversight, but he didn't correct it, and that was sworn out to affidavits for search warrant for the warrant to seize that vehicle. They used that time, 5:30. So Alan Jackson was bringing that up because essentially what he's saying is that your disgraced trooper who was fired used 5:30 as the time that they seized her Lexus truck SUV, when in fact it was at 4:12 p.m. And when he's questioned on it, he just brushes it off. I want to get that, and it's shortly right after this.
I want to shift gears one more time and ask you about your trip to Dighton and the seizure of the SUV. You testified that you seized the SUV somewhere, I think your testimony on direct examination was somewhere around 4:15, 4:17, something like that, correct?
Yes, sir.
Does 4:12 sound like it could be a reasonable time that SUV was actually seized in Massachusetts State Police custody?
It could be reasonable. I'd have to refer to the video evidence that, and then also the exact time that we advised the defendant that we are going to be seizing it. I guess it could be argued that that's when it was seized. Even we had the intent to seize it right there.
Right. Took the key fob, went outside, had a tow truck driver actually put it onto the back of the flatbed. Ultimately, it was transported, correct?
Correct.
And you became aware at some point that there was video evidence. You just referenced it. Video evidence of that, I'm going to call it seizure process. Is that right?
Yes.
And that video evidence had a timestamp on it, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You're also aware, as the supervisor of Michael Proctor, that he swore under oath in multiple affidavits in support of search warrants that the SUV was seized at 5:30 p.m., correct?
Yes.
And you knew at the time, because you were actually there, and you knew when the vehicle was seized, that stating under oath in an affidavit that it was 5:30 p.m. and not 4:12 p.m., that was a false statement, correct?
There's a discrepancy in time there, yes.
Did you take any action, you yourself as a supervisor, did you take any action to correct that false or misleading state? Let me ask it a different way. Did you take any action to correct that time to the accurate time of 4:12 in any of the affidavits that you became aware of?
No, the actual time of the seizure through the video We learned much later. So the approximate time, 5:30, although inaccurate, I did not take any action to correct it, no.
And you received that video as a production from the defense. You did not have access to that video, correct?
Yes.
And so at the time that Michael Proctor actually wrote and drafted these affidavits and swore to them under oath, he did not know that a video existed, correct?
Objection.
Stand, you have to word it differently.
Sure. At the time that you, let me ask it a different way. At the time that you reviewed his declarations under oath, you did not know that a video existed.
No, we did not know.
All right, here comes the text messages part. I want to just talk quickly with you about this, Ed. I know I stopped it. Go ahead.
Yeah, because folks, that affidavit sworn out with that mistake could be 2 criminal charges, 1 official misconduct, falsifying a report, and then maybe a 3rd perjury. Okay, if they knowingly put the wrong time of that seizure.
That's why I brought it up. That's why I brought it up, Ed, because I homed in on that when I heard Alan Jackson really accentuate that these all these affidavits and they had to get a warrant to seize that vehicle from a judge. It had to be sworn out. I've done that many a times in search warrants and in other court proceedings. So if you're testifying to the wrong times, all of it, including the vehicle, could be thrown out.
And when you became aware of the mistake, if you didn't go back to the judge and correct that mistake.
He asks him on the return. He said,
Yeah.
on the search warrant return, did you correct it? And he said no.
Right.
Yeah.
So that's further proof of, as Mr. Brennan likes to say, consciousness of guilt.
Yeah. Melanie's Cupcakes posse in the house. Sherilyn Schofner, thank you for being here. She says the feds are watching.
Somebody's watching me.
Stop it, Ed. Here comes the text messages now. I just want to let you know, I mean, we're going to hear some really vile conversation about Trooper Proctor talking about calling Karen Read a retard, saying things that are not really really good here. So if you're sensitive to this, just be forewarned. Trigger warning, ladies and gentlemen.
Ron, may I jump in one more thing?
Go right ahead.
You know, the tow truck driver is not a member of the Canton PD or the Massachusetts State Police. It's a contracted private tow truck operator. So there's paperwork from that tow truck operator, and there should be a time that he recovered that vehicle and put it on his flatbed truck. In addition, what they didn't do as well is document the vehicle by means of photography.
Nothing.
Before it got up on the truck.
And I'm not surprised about that because nothing, not John O'Keefe's, nobody even thought, the cops who were on the scene, you got an unresponsive off-duty police officer. I mean, look, I get that the EMS is going to take him and do the life support and take him out. But if he is, if he's there at the scene, why not just take out your cell phone and take a picture of him for the squad detectives? I mean, that's patrolman 101. Like, okay, this body's going to be removed. I'm going to take a picture. I'm going to just take a picture of where he or she was, because this is not adding up. Nobody knows what happened. Everybody's freaking out. Karen's going nuts. All the ladies are all over the place. Take a picture. Why not?
Right. I mean, it's the most important piece of evidence in their case because, as the sergeant says, his theory was vehicle accident. Okay. Yeah. So, hey, that's the important thing. And they're going to start moving the vehicle and they're going to put it on a flatbed. And what happens if during the transport or when it's moved to get on the flatbed or comes off the flatbed and into the garage.
Say if he gets T-boned and now
Right.
the car is totaled.
Or something happens, more pieces start accidentally or loosely falling out of this lens. And you didn't document how you found it.
Absolutely. Look, Angela S. is in the chat. Hi, Angela. She found her brother, unfortunately, dead inside the hull of his boat. And she said, even I took a picture, Ron, of my brother. It's so important. You guys are right. Unfortunately, in my case, it did nothing. But, you know, we're talking about a police officer responding to a scene. And here's a civilian, Angela S., had the wherewithal to say, you know what? I better take a picture of this. You know, I have to memorialize this and take a picture of it to prove and to show where he was found. So I think thank you for that comment, and I'm so sorry again for your deep loss of your brother.
Yes, Angela. Cheryl, we get this question all the time. Judge Lifeguard Bev already denied the defense team from doing this. Okay. Again, if this, we say it time and time again on almost every show that we've done on this, if this was New York City, the district attorney's office, any one of them in the 5 boroughs, would have laughed the detectives out of their office if they tried to present this for
execute. Yeah,
you're
right.
It wouldn't even have gone to a grand jury. They would have laughed it out in the office.
Examination, sustained findings as it pertains to you. You've already talked about the fact that, Sergeant, you're a supervisor and we're a supervisor back in January of 2022 moving forward over Trooper Proctor, correct?
Yes.
Generally speaking, as a supervisor, your job is to properly and professionally supervise, show some authority over those in your charge. Is that right?
Yes.
Michael Proctor was in fact a trooper in your charge.
Yes.
And you would agree that your supervision has a direct impact on the character and quality of the subordinate investigators that you supervise.
Yes.
The whole point of having supervision and a chain of command is to establish a certain amount of, for lack of a better phrase, quality control of the subordinates.
Yes.
That would also include quality control over the subordinates' investigations.
Yes.
On August 17th, 2022, you were in a group text with the following individuals: Michael Proctor, Trooper Kukowski, a lieutenant named Fanning, and a trooper named DiCicco, D-I-C-I-C-C-O, correct?
Yes.
What I find so hard to believe is that Sgt Bukhenik, with the most basic yes or no responses to questions, has such a hard time answering these questions. And the reason he has such a hard time answering them is because he knows he's 100% wrong. This guy now, in my opinion, after watching him for 3 days, should be fired. And that's a pretty strong statement for me to make. I feel like he does not and should not be serving the people of the state of Massachusetts, because he proved, I'm going to put us back on it. He proved, and I'm going to tell you exactly why I say this. He proved that he is not trustworthy, that he is not capable of supervising his subordinates. He's not capable of supervising, and he doesn't know right from wrong. Although he probably does know right from wrong, but he's testifying under oath that like he doesn't know right from wrong. Ed.
Yeah, no, I agree. And then he's got a boss over him, a lieutenant that was in that vile text message amongst the troopers. And everybody is yucking it up on these things when these nasty comments are being made on an ongoing investigation about the defendants and the defendants' lawyers. It's not just the defendant, okay? Because they had a meme of the lawyer, okay? Now, but if you look at some of the other stuff that they've done, apparently they can pull out all the investigative stops for the rubber ducky investigation, but give this poor officer John O'Keefe's death little to no standards in criminal investigation and crime scene investigations. Okay. I'm just, for the life of me, I just cannot understand how this case was allowed to, the first case, not just this case, the first case was allowed to proceed with all of these glaring holes in the chain of custody and the documentation of the evidence, the reports. And then later on in his testimony, Brennan is going to try and rehabilitate the fact, oh, you don't have to do the reports in a timely fashion. You can wait over 580 days.
Yeah, We Love CO puts in cops are trained to lie. They have to pass with 100% lie in 101. That's not true. I just want to highlight this comment.
Really?
The good cops will not lie like this. And the bottom line here is you take an oath to protect and serve, to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth when you swear an oath out in court. And lying under oath is it's a crime. It's perjury. And this guy doesn't seem to really care. And this is not the first time or the last time that this type of messages in these text message strings, it wasn't the first rodeo for these people, because to have a detective send a group message to not only a sergeant, but a lieutenant in the Massachusetts State Police, it goes to show you that was not the first time that he sent messages like that. How many other cases, every case that Michael Proctor and this clown, Trooper Sergeant Bukhenik, and the lieutenant should all be looked at. They all should be looked at. Everybody that they put away in their trials, everything should be looked at with these guys.
Well, the defense attorneys are doing that. The defense attorneys that had these troopers on their cases, maybe there's convictions now that may get overturned because of this nonsense.
Lieutenant Fanning should be punished as well, because he failed to do anything about it. You heard Bukhenik say, "Oh, I lost 5 vacation days." Okay, big deal. Whoop-de-doo. What did Lieutenant Fanning lose? I would guarantee you, it's a big fat donut.
Well, here's the thing too, and I don't understand why the defense hasn't done this. Like, we have the patrol guide, right? And then we have the crime scene protocols. And I'm sure the Mass State Police and the Canton PD has a patrol guide, and they have protocols for investigations and crime, criminal investigations and crime scene investigations.
Yeah.
How come those documents have not been gone over by the defense team, or maybe the defense team asked for them and, lifeguard Bev said no, okay, to give them so they can say, well, according to your policies and procedures and your protocols, did you do this? No. Did you do this? No. Did you do this? No. So you're violating all these protocols. You're violating all these procedures that have been put down in writing, and you're supposed to be trained on this. So how can we trust anything in this investigation?
Let's listen to this, because we have a lot more to cover, and we're almost up to an hour. I'm gonna let the rest of this play, and I'm gonna fast forward it to the parts where he talks about at the 2 hour and 17 minute mark that Trooper Proctor conducted this investigation with integrity, and he goes on to give him, after these text messages, an exceptional report, right? We have our reviews, our quarterly reviews in the NYPD and most big police departments like the Massachusetts State Police. So every 90 days, the troopers get reviewed by their sergeants. And he, after getting these text messages from him about Karen Read being a retard, and Karen Read hopes she dies, and he called her the C word. I'm not even going to use it here because it's bad. He called Karen Read the C word. Obviously not to him. It was in another text string. But he gave him an exceptional evaluation, and we're going to listen to him talk about this. And that's where, like, for me, that took the cake for the day.
Within this document.
Okay. Let's start with this. You indicated that you did not see Michael Proctor's name on that document, correct? You've already talked about the fact that, Sergeant, you're a supervisor and we're a supervisor back in January of 2022 moving forward over Trooper Proctor, correct?
Yes.
Generally speaking, as a supervisor, your job is to properly and professionally supervise, show some authority over those in your charge. Is that right?
Yes.
Michael Proctor was in fact a trooper in your charge.
Yes.
And you would agree that your supervision has a direct impact on the character and quality of the subordinate investigators that you supervise.
Yes.
The whole point of having supervision and a chain of command is to establish a certain amount of, for lack of a better phrase, quality control of the subordinates.
Yes.
That would also include quality control over the subordinates' investigations.
Yes.
On August 17th, 2022, you were in a group text with the following individuals: Michael Proctor, Trooper Kukowski, a lieutenant named Fanning, and a trooper named DiCicco, D-I-C-I-C-C-O, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
I'm handing you a document. Can you tell me if you recognize that document?
I recognize parts of it.
You saw that document on direct examination. I think you were shown the same document, correct?
It was different parts of it, but same. It's inclusive of within this document.
Okay. Let's start with this. You indicated that you did not see Michael Proctor's name on that document, correct?
Correct. His name is not on here.
But you do recognize that as being reflective, accurately reflective of the text chain that you were on August 17th, 2022, that group chat.
Yes, sir.
I'm going to do this a little bit backward, but bear with me. You do see the name Kukowski, correct?
I do.
You do see the name Fanning, correct?
I do.
You do see the name DiCicco, correct?
I do.
And you do see the name Bukhenik, correct?
No, it's misspelled, but I know it. They're probably referencing me.
Okay. The only other text or person texting on that chain is a code, a lengthy, almost like a URL code with no name, correct?
Yes, you're right.
And
Yes.
the only person that I didn't name, whose name I did not read off, that's obvious on that document, is Michael Proctor, correct?
Correct.
So deductive reasoning tells you that that is the code is Michael Proctor. Is that right?
I would agree with you, yes.
Okay. In that text chain, it starts with Trooper DiCicco sending a photograph, correct?
No.
May I approach?
Yes.
You turn to page 2683, please. You see a photograph there?
Yes, I do.
Okay, fair enough. There were some texts between and among the group that preceded this photograph, correct?
Yes.
I want to start on this date, August 17, 2022, with this photograph. This photograph was sent by Trooper DeChico to the group, correct?
It possibly appears that way. I really can't. I mean,
Your Honor, with the
Yes.
court's permission, I'm not sure this document has been marked. I'd like to have this marked and
Sure,
admitted.
we'll mark it for ID.
I'd actually like to have it marked and admitted. There's certain things I'd like to show.
What's Carl's position on that?
I have no objection to admission, but not in this form. It needs to be redacted.
Can you do it?
What I intend to do, I can do with one photograph. If I may have a moment with counsel.
Okay.
Thank you.
Your Honor, with the court's permission, I'd like to publish just one page of what's been marked for identification. I'm sorry, I would ask that it be marked, the entire document be marked for identification.
Yeah.
you're gonna need this.
And with the court's permission, I would ask to display or to publish page 2683 of that document.
So are you admitting into evidence, page 263?
I would.
Do you
just-
have a separate one rather than tearing it out of what's been marked for
I can-
identification?
I can take it out of this copy.
And can you redact it before it's admitted, please?
It's been redacted.
Is it 116?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you. So we're talking about the same thing, Sergeant. I've just handed you a page that's been marked Exhibit 116. Do you recognize that as being a copy of one of the multiple pages in the document that you're holding that's been marked for identification as FF?
Yes, sir.
Okay, if we could publish that single page, please.
Okay.
Is that a photograph that was sent by Trooper DeChico to the group?
According to this document, yes.
Who is depicted in that photograph?
The big story, Mr. David Yannetti, criminal defense attorney.
Do you see that person in court?
Yes, I do.
Where is he seated and what is he wearing?
He's seated right there wearing a blue tie and a dark suit, white shirt.
Thank you. We could bring the lights up, Your Honor.
Okay.
In response to, and going back to the multi-page document FF, in response to Trooper DeChico's photograph that he sent to the group, you responded to that photograph, did you not?
Here it comes.
Yes, this document indicates so, yes.
And you responded by laughing at it, correct?
That's what it says, yes.
Well, that's what it says, but that's what you did.
I don't remember.
I don't remember.
Trooper Proctor then, former Trooper Proctor, Michael Proctor, then responded, correct?
Right in front of you.
That's what it says here, yes.
And he responded to the group, funny, I'm going through his retarded client's phone, correct?
That's what it says, yes.
Michael Proctor then responded again. Is that right?
Yes.
He wrote, no nudes so far, correct?
That's what it says, yes.
Michael Proctor responded yet again. Is that right?
That's correct.
And in reference to Mr. Yannetti's photograph, he wrote, I hate that man. I truly hate him. Correct?
That's what it says.
There's a trooper by the name of Moore, M-O-O-R-E, correct?
There is.
And he disliked Trooper Proctor's phrase, his statement, "No nudes so far," correct?
That's what it says.
Did that indicate to you that Moore was disappointed that Trooper Proctor, Michael Proctor, had not found naked pictures of Miss Read as yet?
I don't know what that indicated for Mr. Moore.
Oh, you damn well know.
And then you responded to the phrase, "Funny, I'm going through his retarded client's phone," correct?
I acknowledged that text message being sent.
You acknowledged it by liking it, correct? With a thumbs up.
I acknowledged it by responding with a thumbs up emoji.
The fact is, Trooper Proctor told you, his supervisor, in this series of text messages that he was going through Miss Read's phone. Is that right?
Correct.
And he also informed you, his supervisor, that he was going through her phone looking for nudes or naked pictures of her on her phone, correct?
He did not tell me that he was going through the naked pictures, for naked pictures through the phone.
Bullshit.
He wrote, "No nudes so far," right?
That is what is written, yes.
What did you think he was looking for when he wrote that phrase?
Naked pictures.
I don't know what he was looking for.
What would be a reasonable interpretation of what Michael Proctor was looking for when he wrote, "No nudes so far"?
I don't know.
Motorcycles, handbags, pair of shoes, or naked pictures of Miss Karen Read?
His mission was to go through the phone to look for digital evidence that's related to the crime. The fact that he wrote "no nude so far," I cannot comment on.
You cannot comment on, or you don't want to comment on?
I don't know what he was looking for in that specific time.
Oh, bullshit.
And you didn't reprimand him. He should have been immediately suspended. The next time he came in for duty, this sergeant should have called him in his office and said, "You're off the case, idiot, and you're suspended." But he didn't. He didn't do anything. The only time that anything was done is when this was brought up in the first trial. The Massachusetts State Police suspended Trooper Proctor, and it went through that long 6-month or so process, and he got fired. I hope that right after this, the same thing happens to Sergeant Bukhenik.
Well, there's a lieutenant in that chain too. That's sergeant's supervisor. And since the sergeant didn't do anything, the lieutenant should have suspended him for failure to supervise. And since the lieutenant didn't do it, they all should go.
Including the commanding officer, whoever's up above the lieutenant. This is a small unit with 4 detectives, a sergeant, or a lieutenant, or 2 lieutenants, and who knows who else. But this gets worse from here. This is a look. The look on his face is he is so busted that he has no comment. He has no answers to it. And then finally, something snaps. A light bulb turns on, and something snapped in his head and said, "Wait a minute. I got to say this. I got to say that." And you're going to hear him. Let's listen. It's only another 10 minutes of this.
You certainly did nothing. You took no action to stop him from potentially looking for naked pictures of my client, correct?
That's correct.
In fact, last week you testified that in your view, Michael Proctor handled himself in this investigation with integrity. That's what you said, correct?
That's correct.
Do you stand by that testimony?
The investigation was handled with integrity and honor.
Bullshit.
Do you stand by your testimony that Michael Proctor conducted himself during the course of this investigation with integrity?
Yes, I do.
Ed, when I listened back to this, I was like, did I just fucking hear what this guy said? Like,
Yeah, well, in the upcoming cross, he's going to take that all back.
Okay. But you can't take back what you said under oath.
He also called her retarded, correct?
That is what's written.
That's what's written? That's a very passive way of saying it, Sergeant. That's what's written, or that's what he wrote?
That's what he wrote.
And that's what you read.
I have no memory of reading that.
Bullshit.
I acknowledged him going through the phone on my Apple Watch. I have no memory
Pardon my French, but you're an asshole.
of him writing retarded on a text message.
And you'll agree that that is one of the most vile and insensitive and incendiary terms one could use in modern society. Retarded, correct?
That is correct.
And in fact, through your response to that vile phrase, you encouraged it because you liked it with a thumbs up, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Let me ask you in the chat. Let's pool the chat here, Ed. If I send something to you, Ed, or I send it in a group message and you're not a fan of what I said, are you going to respond back to me with a thumbs up? That's a negative. You're going to respond back to me with a, angry face or a thumbs down or anything but a thumbs up. So it's just unbelievable.
Did you encourage that statement by Michael Proctor by liking it with a thumbs up?
I don't know if it encouraged him, but I cannot speak to
But
that.
that's what you did.
I acknowledged the text message being sent.
I want to be clear. These text messages were sent to you by your direct report, by your direct subordinate, correct?
That's correct.
And there was even someone on that text chain who was more senior than you, Lieutenant Fanning, right?
That's correct.
Michael Proctor was both your partner and the lead investigator on this case when he wrote that, correct?
He's a subordinate, and he was the case officer.
This text thread, contains communications between a subordinate, the person you call the case officer. By the way, let me ask you another question. Did you ever, during the course of the investigation in which you were a part, the sustained findings, the internal affairs investigation, did you ever review Colonel Noble's determinations about your subordinate, Michael Proctor?
Objection.
Did you review them?
No, Your Honor, I did not.
What would Colonel Noble call Michael Proctor's title in this case? You think he'd call him the case officer or the lead investigator? What is your experience with Massachusetts State Police in that regard?
Objection.
Sustained.
Notwithstanding the fact that a subordinate was on this check chain and a supervisor to you, was Lieutenant Fanning one of your supervisors?
Yes.
Notwithstanding the fact that a subordinate was on this text chain and one of your supervisors was on this text chain, you felt comfortable enough within this group of law enforcement to actually like when the subordinate refers to a suspect as retarded, correct?
I acknowledge the text message with a thumbs up emoji.
Do you believe that? Well, let me ask another question, predicate question. You were also comfortable enough with that text chain to receive information that your subordinate was looking for naked pictures on a suspect's phone, a woman, no less. Correct? You took no remedial action against Trooper Proctor for that, correct?
No, I did not. No.
Do you believe, as you sit here, that that was a misuse of power and authority by a Massachusetts State Police officer?
By myself or
No,
somebody else?
by Michael Proctor.
Misuse of what?
Misuse of authority and power to go through a suspect's phone, to get her phone using the authority and the power vested in that officer by the community members. That's the power that you've derived, correct? You work for the public. Would you agree?
Sustained.
Do you believe it was a misuse of his authority?
Why was that sustained? He asked him, "Do you work for the public?" Just again, lifeguard Bev to the rescue.
And power to use Massachusetts State Police Authority to go through her phone and look for naked pictures of her.
Objection.
Sustained.
Do you believe it was a misuse of authority or power to go through her phone and potentially look for nudes?
Objection.
Sustained.
Let me ask it differently. Did you think his text was appropriate?
How do you have
I don't remember reading that text.
As we
So
sit here now, do you think that text is appropriate?
no, it is not.
Do you think it's professional?
No, it is not.
Do you think it shows integrity?
That text message does not show integrity.
Do you think it shows honor? A word I expect you hold dear.
That text message does not show honor.
On October 15th, 2022, you completed a performance review of Michael Proctor, correct?
That's correct.
Specifically, you were asked to rank his, quote, oral and written communication skills, end quote, correct?
Correct.
As part of an overall evaluation and performance review.
He did a performance review 2 months later and listen to what he gives him, and then we're going to move on.
Is that right?
Yes, overall 90-day quarterly annual review.
You were specifically asked to rank whether he effectively would whether members, your subordinates, would effectively communicate with others, both within and outside the department, in oral and written form, correct?
That's correct.
And you rated him as exceptional, a number 4 rating out of 5, correct?
That's correct.
You actually went on to write and comment on Michael Proctor, and you wrote, quote, Trooper Michael Proctor displays professional demeanor, composure, dignity, and respect during the performance of his duties, and especially during his interactions with the public. This is seen during interviews with witnesses, suspects, as well as victims and their families, end quote. That was a statement you wrote about Michael Proctor, correct?
That is correct.
And this is after the text chain that we've just been talking about, where he calls Miss Read retarded and references looking for nude photographs of her, correct?
That is correct.
Was your statement in that evaluation true or false?
It was true.
You knew Michael Proctor's proclivities, obviously. He told them to you, correct?
The term proclivities, what
You
does that mean?
knew what he tended to do, what he wanted to do through his own comments, to look for nudes on a woman's phone, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
You were aware, sir, that he had received evidence in a case, evidence that doesn't belong to him, belongs to the Massachusetts State Police, at least at that point, correct? Cell phone.
I was aware that he received a cell phone, yes.
And he used that power and the authority to go through that cell phone and look for news of my client, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
All right, so that's the story from Sgt Bukhenik. He basically 2 months later, after he received a text message saying that he was looking for nudes and saying that all these vile things about Karen Read, calling her a retard and lots of other things, he gave him an above average performance review. I don't know what more you guys need to see. This is horrific. I'm repulsed by this guy, and I think Ed Wallace is too. He's just
it was painful to watch the first time. It was painful to watch here too.
Yeah, agreed. And the chat agrees with it as well. This guy is a disgrace to the Massachusetts State Police, and we're going to move on. Ed, we discussed quickly because it's over. We're over an hour. It's an hour and 15. We discussed the car and the video that they played in court of Brian Higgins coming back to the Canton PD on the night of this incident. January 29th, 2022, he plays it in full in court. There's a lot of back and forth about identifying times, and I think those times are important, obviously. What was your takeaway forensically from what happened inside that Sally Port and with Karen Read's car out in the parking lot?
Well, yeah, if you can bring up the footage of the flatbed truck bringing Karen Read's car to the police Sally Port, there's a timestamp on that security footage, so we could see the exact time that that vehicle gets there. If in fact the video information can be trusted, because again, there's no metadata. The original file is not there.
Yeah.
So, you know, I don't know. We can't really trust these images because of that fact. And again, it's just another one of the crazy reasons why this should not have gone to trial. Evidence was tampered with. These videos, they were told that the metadata existed. They flew in an expert from California to come review it, and they knew before she even got on a plane that they didn't have this information. Yeah, that's Higgins in the parking lot, heading towards the Sally Port to get into the command there. But I was looking for the other video, and if you don't have the other video of the truck, then just maybe we could show the video of inside the Sally Port.
It's in this.
These videos here of Higgins are important for the texting and the cell phone usage. And what did he go there for? Did he grab a Faraday bag? What was he doing there? Was he cleaning up? Did he change some clothes? What was he doing there? Because he goes back out, cleans off a couple cars, and then gets in his Jeep and he drives off. Okay, so this is the inverted video. Okay, so let's play with the cross-examination where Proctor is in the back corner of that, what on this looks like the left side of the car, but in reality, because this is inverted, it's the right side. It's the area where the taillight is that
In this video.
damaged.
Right. Let's listen to this.
And what you previously said, and we'll get to subsequent testimony in a second, you previously indicated that the person to the right was you, person to the left, Michael Proctor, correct?
Yes, previously I identified that being Michael Proctor. I was mistaken. That is not me on the right.
That would be the tow truck driver, correct?
That's correct.
That is, in fact, Michael Proctor, however, in the two-tone jacket, correct?
I believe so.
Okay. And as the video is portrayed, at least as we're looking at it, and I'll get to the next question next, as we're looking at it, it appears that we're looking at the right passenger side of the vehicle, as it appears in this video, correct?
That's correct.
And you see a timestamp and a date stamp on the bottom, correct?
It is present. I don't know what it says.
Okay, can we highlight that just a little bit? Can you see what that says?
I believe it says interior Sally Port back wall.
Okay.
537, maybe.
Okay. When you indicated that this was a fair and accurate depiction of the interior Sally Port when the SUV was brought in, you were specifically asked whether or not you or Michael Proctor approached or manipulated or touched the right rear taillight area of the vehicle, correct?
I don't remember the exact verbiage used, but in something along those lines, that's what was asked.
I found it, Ed.
Okay, so there's a timestamp here, 5:31. You can see the flatbed being pulled in. If we can trust this, because as I said, no original file, no metadata. Okay, and getting back to what he testified to, in the first trial, the prosecutor, different prosecutor, Lally,
Adam Lally.
Yeah, he asked again, is this a fair and accurate representation of the Sally Port and what was going on inside of it? And they said yes. And the answer should always be in this case, no, because it's inverted. Okay. And now going forward on his direct testimony, Sergeant Yuri here, he was asked the same question by the prosecutor, this time Brennan. And again, he says yes, but Brennan knows that it's inverted. So how can it be a fair and accurate representation if it's inverted? Okay. But yet he testifies. So I pose to you that Lally and Brennan have suborned perjury twice. Okay. They know that it's not a fair and accurate representation.
And then
But they're allowing their witnesses to testify that it is.
Yeah, and Bukhenik, he went on to say that we went back and looked at the videos from January 1st of 2022, and it all recorded inverted. It wasn't just for this case. For the previous, 20 days, we went back and viewed, or whatever the case, however many days they went back. I think he said to January 1, it was recording inverted. It just doesn't make sense. Just doesn't make sense. Like you said, it's not a fair and accurate depiction. So this is 129 at 5:31 a.m. If we're to believe the main driveway camera is not, is correct, and it's not Daisy.
Right, and that timestamp hasn't been altered in any manner. So if you go back into the garage.
This is Bukhenik's truck.
Right.
And I'll go back to the garage, but I just want to see. And then it looks like, I think, a patrol car.
Yeah, patrol car comes in an SUV.
Right. So that's a marked Canton police vehicle.
I want to find the spot where
Have you seen that
in the back.
Yes, I have.
Right,
They were on
the back right?
Yeah, where Proctor's back there and the tow truck driver goes out, and then all of a sudden this man materializes out of the blue by the garage door.
Yeah, I saw that. He looks like he's shoveling snow.
No, it wasn't shoveling snow at all. It was the late chief. He didn't have a broom or a shovel.
I just want to see this.
And later they'll give you the correct version of the video. They flip it back to the correct perspective.
Yeah. All right. So here we are.
Yeah, start right there.
It was shown at a prior proceeding, correct?
Yes, it is.
Does it appear to be the interior of the Sallyport at Canton PD?
Yes, it is.
And this is what you were questioned about regarding the SUV being pulled into the Sallyport, correct?
Yes.
From a time frame standpoint, just the time frame, this is right after the SUV has been driven in from the flatbed after having been seized in Dighton, correct?
Yes, it was driven off of the flatbed after transportation from Dighton to Canton PD and driven into the Sallyport.
All right. You previously have identified individuals in this video, in this still shot, correct?
Yes.
And what you previously said, and then we'll get to subsequent testimony in a second, you previously indicated that the person to the right was you, person to the left, Michael Proctor, correct?
Yes, previously I identified that being Michael Proctor. I was mistaken. That is not me on the right.
That would be the tow truck driver, correct?
That's correct.
That is, in fact, Michael Proctor, however, in the two-tone jacket, correct?
I believe so.
Okay.
Okay, hold on 1 second.
Video is portraying.
Now, folks, if you look at what looks like the left arm of Proctor, the left arm down where the hand would be, he's holding what appears to be a rectangular item. And that's a pad folio. If you remember the photograph from the hospital of the clothing on the floor, to the left of the clothing on a chair is the trooper's pad folios that has a legal pad in it where they write their notes. It's the kind that it has a zipper and it closes. And so he's holding that in his left, it's really his right hand, but it's shown here as the left hand.
Right. Let's let it play.
At least as we're looking at it, and I'll get to the next question next. As we're looking at it, it appears that we're looking at the right passenger side of the vehicle, as it appears in this video, correct?
That's correct.
And you see a timestamp and a date stamp on the bottom, correct?
It is present. I don't know what it says.
Okay, let me highlight that just a little bit. Can you see what that says?
I believe it says interior, Sally port, back wall,
Okay,
537, maybe.
okay. When you indicated that this was a fair and accurate depiction of the interior Sally port when the SUV was brought in, you were specifically asked whether or not you or Michael Proctor approached or manipulated or touched the right rear taillight area of the vehicle, correct?
I don't remember the exact verbiage used, but in something along those lines, that's what was asked.
And you indicated that neither of you did, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
Handmaid Darcy, this is a flipped video.
Say it again, Red.
Handmaid Darcy, this is a flipped video.
This video is backward, correct?
Yes, it is a mirror image of what is actually taking place as recorded by the camera.
Can we play this forward? You see where Mr. Proctor, let's go ahead and pause it. You see where Mr. Proctor went.
Yes, the video depicts him going to that portion of the vehicle, but we can't tell how close he is.
Okay. And the back, from all appearances, importantly, it appears to be the back driver's side, back left of the vehicle, correct?
That's the way it appears, yes.
Ron, could you stop it for a second? Okay, in the sergeant's testimony, he says he never left Proctor, or Proctor was always within eyesight. But the sergeant is nowhere in any of this video. So where's the sergeant?
He's MIA.
Yeah. So but he testified after this that he was never Proctor was never alone. But let's move on.
Let's play this forward for a second.
I mean, they had an opportunity to photograph that light right then.
Can I ask you to pay special note to the far rear
Nobody cared to.
side of the vehicle?
Ron, take your mouse and put it over the right rear corner by the roof on the other side. That's Proctor's head, everybody. That's Proctor's head. Keep an eye on that roundish area there. That's the head of Proctor.
Do you see what appears to be Mr. Proctor's head?
Yes.
As the tow truck driver walks past the rear of the vehicle, can you watch and tell me if you see Mr. Proctor do anything or move in any way? Let's go ahead and play it forward. Pause. Did you see any volitional movement by Mr. Proctor as the tow truck driver moved past him?
Yes, it appears if that is his head, it shifted weight.
Okay. Let's go ahead and play it forward. Stop.
Now, did you see that?
Person that appeared to morph toward the back of the vehicle, right there.
Watch this guy appear out of
There's some
nowhere.
anomaly there with the footage, so it could possibly be used to describe that what took place.
Can you recognize that person?
I cannot know.
You indicated previously, did that person look large or small in stature?
I can't tell.
Hold on, back it up a little bit and play it again.
Proctor, whose head you can see above the car. What about this person? Taller, shorter, or move in any way? Let's go ahead and play it forward.
Watch this guy disappear, folks, as it's like it starts from the ground up.
Did you see any volitional movement by Mr. Proctor as the tow truck driver moved past him?
Yes, it appears if that is his head, it shifted weight.
Okay. Let's go ahead and play it forward.
Yeah. I'm going slow.
Okay. And it just materializes in the image out of nowhere.
Yeah. Pretty wild.
So you know, at first glance, it looks to me like this has been manipulated.
Yeah. Who, you know, what the?
Okay, let's move on because you're going to see another. I want you to continue to look where you see the bicycles on the wall over here.
A guy appeared over here.
Yeah, you're going to see another guy just appear over there.
And that one was the one that I was referring to that I believe he had a shovel.
Pushing a broom, I believe.
Scott, did you see a person that appeared to morph toward the back of the vehicle? Right there.
There is some anomaly there with the footage, so it could possibly be used to describe that what took place.
Can you recognize that person?
I cannot know.
You indicated previously, does that person look large or small in stature?
I can't tell.
As compared to, for instance, Michael Proctor, whose head you can see above the car. What about this person? Taller, shorter than Michael Proctor?
I can't tell from here. I can't.
You indicated that Chief Berkowitz was a smaller statured person, correct?
I never said that.
I'm sorry?
I didn't know his height.
Larger or smaller? Generally. How about this? Larger or smaller than you?
He's shorter than me.
Okay. Can you tell whether or not that is Chief Berkowitz?
I cannot know.
Okay, let's go ahead and play the for him. And a little bit further. Pause. What does it appear that Mr. Proctor does at this point in the video?
He's walking.
Okay. Do you see anything in his hand?
I cannot tell from the video, but he might be carrying something.
Remember we looked previously at a portfolio, black portfolio. Does it appear that he may have a black portfolio in his hand?
That is very likely, but I don't know exactly what he's carrying.
Okay, let's go ahead and play this forward.
There he is.
Boom. Here's the other guy, disappears.
Somebody just appeared at the front right. Or sorry, the right-hand side of the screen toward the front of the SUV as well?
Yes, it appears that way, yes.
Okay. Let's take this down.
Okay, Ron. Let's get to the when they correct the image.
He's walking.
Okay. Do you see anything in his hand?
One more time. I'll move
I cannot tell from the video, but he might be carrying something.
Remember we looked previously at a portfolio, black portfolio. Does it appear that he may have a black portfolio in his hand?
That is very likely, but I don't know exactly what he's carrying.
Okay, let's go ahead and play this forward.
Cool.
Okay. And did it appear that somebody just appeared at the front right? Or sorry,
Right. So here's it corrected.
That's the corrected. You can see the word police clearly on the old cruiser there.
Pause.
Okay. That's the driver taking the picture of the front of the car, the tow truck driver.
Right. He almost falls too. He slips here in the front.
Yeah.
Is the footage, the way that is depicted right now, is very accurately depicts or very accurately represents what I remember from being there.
In fact, this side of the vehicle that we're looking at that's closest to us, that I'm highlighting on the screen to your right, that is in fact the driver's side of the vehicle, not the passenger side of the vehicle. Is that correct?
That is correct.
The far side over here would be the right rear of the vehicle, correct?
Yes, sir.
Which area is Michael Proctor walking to? The left rear or the right rear in this?
You know, it's funny, Navin, that you said this. I just highlighted that chat. I was discussing this with Ed during the day today, and I said to him that at my warehouse where I work, director security at an Amazon affiliate, I have this happen a lot in my videos where someone just appears, and if it's motion activated, that can happen, right? That second guy that appeared to be taking a broom off the wall, and that one wasn't as freaky as the one at the rear of the vehicle. But again, you have a point, because the motion triggers sometimes pick up in the middle of the motion. So in other words, a person could be in frame, but it's not recording, but they don't. We don't have any confirmation of, is this like my home? My home IP cameras run 24. They're not. They're 24/7. They're not on motion. They just have fixed views, and it's continuous record. Is the Sallyport motion activated? That would be a question that I would ask if I was Alan Jackson. That would be something that I'd want to ask. Maybe he doesn't want to ask it, but we don't know. We don't know. I mean, not even if you're in that field, I'd love to hear more about that. But why even talk about it if we don't know? In fact, is this a continue? I would hope that the police department has continuous record, not motion activated. Motion sensing, motion activated. That would be not good for a police department. You need to have a secure facility.
You got to look at the timestamp too on the images. If the timestamp is flowing, then it's filming, right? If it's stopped and then it goes forward to a different time, then it's actually motion activated. Now, also, it said that the chief of police was out sick at this time. So why was he at the station?
Yeah.
Okay. Now
it's like these people are these rinky-dink small departments. They march to their own drumbeat. And it's not like the NYPD, where if you're out sick, you're not supposed to be in the command. You're supposed to be home in your residence. These people don't. There's no rules like that here.
Remember, this chief drove by the scene, and while he was driving by the scene, found a piece of the lens.
And remember, the chief of detectives didn't even come out of his house, but he gave him
but that's
and a stopping
person. So here's what Proctor is holding: a portfolio like this, where you can open it up and it has your pads, and you can put all your stuff in here. What else could you put in here? And then take your zipper and zip it up.
Pieces
Broken
of
taillight pieces, maybe?
Pieces of taillight. Yeah.
Okay. So let's go forward with that, because you're going to see another image here.
Portfolio in his hand?
It would not be unlikely that it's there, but I can't tell exactly what it is in his hand.
Let's play it forward.
Yeah, you can see
Do you see anything in his hand now? As his arm?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Does it appear to be consistent with the black portfolio that we saw?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Let's move forward. And he is now
Okay,
off.
there's the guy. He pops in again. Now
Yes.
look to the back. The door opens by the back of the car, and somebody comes in.
Previously,
and we don't know who that person is.
Prior video, there's the vehicle that we're looking at that's closest to us.
Yes, sir.
That's the tow truck operator.
Mr. Proctor's head above the SUV,
Yes.
and watch him as the tow truck driver walks by. Did he appear to move?
Here comes the guy. He's morphing into the photo.
And it appears that there's another person that showed up in the footage, an anomaly of some sort, walking off screen left to right. Is that right?
That's what it appears. Yes.
Is Mr. Proctor still at the right rear taillight area?
He's in that general vicinity. Yes.
Let's go ahead and play it forward.
I don't know why he didn't ask, "Where are you?"
A little bit further. Pause. Can you see anything in his hand? Let me just ask it. Closed in. Do you see the portfolio in his hand?
It would not be unlikely that it's there, but I can't tell exactly what it is in his hand.
Let's play it forward.
Okay, here comes the
Anything
broom on the by the windshield.
Does it appear to be consistent with the black portfolio that we saw?
Yes, it is. Yes.
By the bikes.
And he is now off, correct?
Yes.
So, in point of fact,
He's
Sergeant,
wearing some type of uniform of some sort.
Yeah.
You
And
see
then
the-
there's somebody coming through that back door at the same time.
Right. You see the patches. I see a patch or a name tag there. Wearing a hat.
Now,
in the room.
if you fast forward just a little bit, they get another image from another camera.
whether the prior video fairly and accurately depicted what you recall as it pertains to the SUV,
That appears to be.
quality of it, but quality of it.
That appears to be the seized SUV belonging to the defendant, with it being situated inside the Sallyport.
And what is that vehicle there?
It's an antique police cruiser.
And who is this person?
I do not know who that is.
Does that look like Michael Proctor?
don't know. I'd have to get a zoom in.
Two guys
I don't know.
Yeah, I think Proctor's to the left, and that's the chief. The bald-headed guy is the chief.
Does he have glasses on?
I don't know.
Maybe Chief Burgos?
Look, and look at his hand. He's got a cigarette in his hand, and his hand is on the lens.
Cigarette. Unbelievable. Rinky dink police department doing shady shit. This gives me anxiety. It's
Can you
Berkey.
tell me the date that's on the the date and timestamp at the bottom?
I cannot. I think I might be able to make it out in the actual photograph you printed out. Could I take a look at that?
Sure.
Need the light?
Yes, please, Your Honor. It appears the time is 11:08 and 59 seconds in the morning of possibly January.
All right, Ed. A lot of information on day 14. I want to go to the super chats and see if anybody has questions, because a lot of people sent stuff. But I wanted to also say, wasn't it interesting how Auntie Bev, lifeguard Bev, as you call her, how she cut off Alan Jackson at the end? She made him really cut off his his recross on Bukhenik, and he.
If I was Jackson, I would have made the sergeant come back tomorrow, all right?
Yeah.
Because of the way she was pushing him. Okay. Can I just talk about this lens real quick and how things break?
Sure.
Okay, folks. This is a plastic fork, but I just want to explain how forces work and how things break. Okay, the physics of this. So where my thumbs are represents what would be a force being applied to it. Now, as I bend this, the side by my thumbs is under compression. The opposite side is under tension. So if an arm is going to hit a solid object like this taillight,
that's a big
lens,
one.
okay? And it's going, you got a force coming back and then another force impacting this. The energy is going to cause the lens to break inward towards the housing. So what breaks first? The side under compression where my thumbs are, or the side on tension on the opposite side? And the answer is the tension side breaks first. Okay. Now, with a tail lens, with a lens like this, if you're going to have a crack in here, it has support around the edges. Okay. And that support is going to offer some resistance. So if I hit impact here, okay, with enough force to crack this, so this side is pushing in, and the opposite side of my finger is under tension, the inside of this lens is going to break first. But up here, it can also crack because the inside is resisting. The inside, the force is going this way outward, is under tension, under compression rather, and the opposite side on this side is under tension, under compression. So if I take this hammer,
you're not going to break that, are you?
Oh, I am.
John says in the chat, please don't break it. I need that.
You need that, John? Okay. You got a 2015 Toyota?
Ed, do you have safety goggles on?
I have my glasses on. But look, I'm just gonna tap it. Nothing. Okay? Nothing. How hard do you think I have to hit this to break this?
Pretty damn hard.
Nothing.
That's a hammer, ladies and gentlemen.
All right. Now I'm going to really hit it. Nothing. It didn't crack. If I really have to swing this thing to crack this.
And you woke up your whole household.
Yeah, no, I'm surprised Kara's not barking right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
Jesus. You hit me.
Polycarbonate.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, if I really want to, I can really take a swing at it and get it to crack.
Right. If you had it on the table behind you, but we get the idea of what you're trying to show here. It takes a massive amount of force to do what they are suggesting John O'Keefe's arm and his body did. And where would the damage be? I mean, all of the injuries that he would have if he did break that would be so much more than what he had.
And you don't have to have a PhD in physics to know this, right?
Here you go.
If you remember your basic high school physics, equal but opposite reaction. So if the tail light busted like that, his arm would have busted like that.
Absolutely.
You ever see those movies where somebody gets shot and they go flying across or get blown way back after being shot? You ever see those ridiculous movies where shit like that happens? Okay. Well, guess what? If a person being hit with a bullet then flies 5 feet through the air, well, the person that fired that bullet is going to fly 5 feet in the air in the opposite direction. That's just physics. And that doesn't happen. What's portrayed in Hollywood is just sensationalism. And that doesn't happen, does it?
Yeah. No. John in the chat wants to know if he can have that headlight. He needs it.
It's a 2015 Toyota Sequoia. Yeah, you can have it.
That truck. He said he's got a Sequoia.
Okay.
Let's listen to Alan Jackson get shut down at the end of this, and then we'll take questions. Hashtag Ed, hashtag DutyRon for your questions.
You would agree, as a homicide investigator, not every death starts off as an intended murder, correct?
I will agree to that.
Sometimes a fight could go wrong, and you intend to fight and duke it out. Something goes wrong, something goes south, someone dies, right?
Gotcha.
That's something that people beyond the scope. So neither one.
She shut him down.
You were asked on redirect examination about taillight pieces that were found by the CERT team. I want to ask you real quick about that. Your testimony was you recall that the CERT team found a large piece of red taillight material during their initial search. Is that correct?
That's my recollection, yes.
Okay. Did the CERT, you had a debriefing with the CERT team, correct?
Not the CERT team. I had a debrief with the members of our unit at the Canton PD conference room. I do not have a memory of the CERT team being there.
Do you recall ever being told or informed that the CERT team actually recovered maybe 5 or 6 pieces, maybe 7 pieces of small plastic material in addition to the shoe into an altercation?
I would say, in my experience, in my opinion, the alcohol could become a social lubricant and exacerbate emotions.
Morning of January 29th, 2020.
Objection.
Did you have any information from Trooper Green?
This is
Gut.
when he talked about
Yeah,
the
guts.
apple. This is the end right now. So Alan Jackson is proposing to him that John O'Keefe's Apple Health on his Apple Watch said that he did 34 or 35 steps, and that would have put him inside the Albert's home. And watch Trooper Bukhenik's body language. He starts shaking his head and is laughing about it and makes this shit-ass grin as if he has any ground to stand on at the fact of what Alan AJ is presenting to him, what Alan Jackson's presenting to him.
Having the guts to walk up to someone you might not otherwise walk up to in a bar because you had too much to drink. Is that what beer muscles could mean?
I would say maybe liquid courage.
Even better. What does liquid courage mean?
Giving you courage that truly shouldn't be there.
That you might not otherwise have if you weren't drinking.
Yeah. Yes.
Can we wrap this up, Mr. Jackson?
I'm trying, Judge.
Can we
I won't
speed,
be much longer.
can we speed this up, Mr. Jackson?
Yes, totally
All
wrong.
evidence that Brian Higgins had been drinking most of the afternoon
Here
and
we go.
evening or most of the night, that evening and night, at the time that John O'Keefe and Karen Read walked into the waterfall, correct?
I had information that Brian Higgins had returned from a police officer's funeral
That's an
and then
NYPD.
went to Waterfall after he changed clothes and took a shower.
Went to the hillside before he went to waterfall, started drinking there, correct?
I don't have an independent memory of that, no.
But
So should he be charged with DWI?
fine, you didn't pull the tape at Gesundheit. At the time, you didn't pull the tape at CPD that we saw with Brian Higgins on the phone at 1:30 in the morning, correct? You didn't have that information.
I'm sorry, can you
At the time-
give me a reference when at the
Sure.
time?
At the beginning of your investigation, January 29th, and probably the next, let's call it a couple months.
Mhm.
You did not have that information, correct?
No, we did not.
And you didn't seek that information from CPD at that time.
No, I had no information that he went there.
Okay, and you didn't extract his phone, correct?
That's correct.
And finally, you indicated that you were asked on redirect examination, did you have any evidence that John actually went into the home?
Here we go.
Did you ever interview Trooper Guarino during the course of your investigation, at any time?
Interview him?
Talk to him
No.
about his extraction of John O'Keefe's phone and any of the data that came off of his phone.
No.
You did not realize that Trooper Guarino had information that John O'Keefe took 36 steps covering a distance of some 84 feet that would have placed Mr. O'Keefe inside the residence at 12:32:16.
Objection.
See him shaking
Did
his
you
head?
have any information from Trooper Guarino about steps that were logged on Mr. O'Keefe's phone?
No, I did not.
That it, Mr. Jackson? You said finally, that's what I'm wondering.
She's stepping in at a very critical point. And Ed, like you said, you would have said, I want him back here again tomorrow, because she makes him cut it off right now.
Yeah. All right, I'll finish and I'll continue tomorrow.
I only have a couple more things, but I may be able to.
I only have a couple more things, but I may ask.
And
you-
they started at 10. It's not as if they were there at 8 or 9 o'clock.
Yeah, it wasn't a full day. They started at 10 and they had all these motions and there was so much downtime. This was like a half a day.
As you sit here now, are you aware of whether or not there's evidence that John O'Keefe, the phone describes John O'Keefe's phone taking 36 steps, covering a distance of about 84 feet at 12:32:16 on the morning of January 29th, 2022?
Objection.
Can you answer that? Are you aware of that?
I'm not, Your Honor.
The answer is,
The answer was,
No, I'm not aware of that.
all right.
That's it. So she cut it off right there. She said, all right, that's it. We're done for the day. All right, Ed, let's get to some of the questions. You scan the chat for the questions. I want to highlight some of these super chats because there was a bunch of them. Texas RN is back again with us tonight. Thank you for the 5. And she says, and what about those grass stains on the jeans? LOL.
Oh, and he should never have been allowed to testify to that. He gave opinion evidence. He doesn't know if it's grass or not. It was never tested. He never asked the lab to test it.
Mm-hmm.
He should have never been allowed to offer an opinion that it's grass. Another lifeguard Bev bullshit.
Clara D 07 sends in $2 and says, isn't Brian Albert bald? Yes, he is. But that was the chief in the Sally Port there. Summer Girl, thank you for the 20. We love you right back and we appreciate you. Texas RN again back at it with the $10. What do you guys think the outcome will be? I believe that Karen Read will be found not guilty. She may be found guilty of drinking and driving because that's about all they can find her guilty of.
But they didn't charge her with that.
Right. So that's it. I'm saying that's all she is guilty of here, and many of the other cops and people who testified. We're having drinks, we're having shots, we're having this, and how are we getting home? Getting in the car and driving. Ditto 75 says CPD brought it down on themselves. Shame on them. Yeah, I'll say. Yeah. Evie 323, mom of the history chick, sends in 10 and says, please explain why all these known and unknowns are walking around the alleged murder weapon in the Sally Port with no sign in sheets, no logging, who was present, with the times noted. Ridiculous, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No chain of custody.
We've been saying this all along, and I know Evie 323 has been paying attention. Schmitty's throwing her purse at us, and look, she's bringing out the obvious here. Edmund, thank you so much for the $2. Why Yuri being so difficult in answering questions? Because he doesn't
falling
have,
on the sword for somebody he shouldn't be.
Exactly. He doesn't have the answers to it, and he knows the answers. He doesn't want to answer the questions. Cat Track and DutyRon, didn't you say that the Pranzos are working on a book? They are. They're working on a book. That's last time I talked to him, and I actually texted Rochella on Mother's Day. I sent her a message. Schmitty, back at it again with 10. Thank you for your fortitude and perseverance. So much going on here. I need levity at the end. That's just me. But if you could, Sir Ed, please do a Bad Boys. Ed is imitating the Canton TV with the flag on his head, as we all know. Schmitty, you ask, and we will deliver. Darkborn, thank you for the 10. Former North Carolina deputy sheriff here and police officer. And I've never seen the amount of corruption shown by these witnesses, the judge and the prosecutors. It's really bad. Isn't that funny? Kara started barking when you put the bag on your head and we played Bad Boys.
Bad boys, bad boys.
Darkborn, thank you for your service and thank you for the support. Schmitty's in her pocketbook again. She's sending $2 super chat, and she says Schmitty has officially reached her threshold for the love of sweet baby Jesus. Vegan Me, thank you for becoming a YouTube member. Sharon, thank you for the 2. Bukhenik, never had judge sign any warrants. Is that illegal? I don't know that to be true, but there's everything.
Well, a couple of the warrants he was given weren't signed. He testified to that on the stand.
Everything about this is fugazi. Vicky K, thanks for the 10. Hospice nurse, Google modding versus lividity. Shoulder is modding pre-death. Underside of the whole arm, I see lividity. Thank you, Vicky. Thank you for that. We'd love to have you join us one time to talk about some of this stuff. You seem like you know this. Thank you for what you do. DK, thank you for the 10. The fact that Bukhenik only lost 5 days vacation for not supervising Proctor is unreal. He should have been investigated as fully as Proctor was, disciplined and properly disciplined and dismissed. Proctor was dismissed. Trophy Wife, thank you for the 5. She says he's been punished. All this evidence was used against him in his being punished where he lost 5 days. That's not punishment for this. This guy allowed an investigation to be fudged and possibly evidence planted in who knows what this guy allowed. Said he had eyes on Trooper Proctor at all times, and Ed pointed out, good call there.
Where is he?
Yeah, he's full of shit. EW, thank you for the 10 super sticker. We appreciate you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Terry, thank you for becoming a member. Aunt BB2, how have you been? We haven't seen you in a little bit. She sends in 20 and says, did you hear about the lady who had to take her sweatshirt and shirt off by the buffer zone? She was left standing with bra and pants on, all because they didn't like what her message was. I didn't hear anything about that. No. Did you, Ed?
No, didn't hear that. Seems like a violation of her rights, though.
Oh, yeah, big time. Alexis North, $20. Just wanted to share my gratitude for the selfless service you both gave your communities when you wore the blue, and for the awareness you now share with us through your work here. Alexis,
thank you.
We appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you. Schmitty, again, opening the purse up. She says negative. It's an possum.
It's not a possum or a cat. Woof, woof.
Pablo, thank you for becoming a member. Pro Gamer, thank you for becoming a member. Oh, look at this. This was in the beginning of the show. Miss Rebel, thank you, 21, for the $50 generous super chat. Love you guys. FKF. I think I read this already. I did read it.
I do got a good Ole Miss story.
All right, let's hear it, and then we'll go to the chat.
All right. So I was training some firemen down by Ole Miss and on hazardous materials and collection of that kind of material and also decontamination. And I was telling them that, you know, when they're performing decontamination, they need to use copious amounts of water. And one of the firefighters raised his hand, and this was no joke. It was all seriousness. He said, Instructor Wallace, we don't have copious water here. We have well water. And I said, well, yeah, that's fine. Just use a lot of it.
Popeye's laughing too. Mel Stiller's in the chat. And I know a lot of people have been putting questions in. And now I'm looking officially. I'm sorry. I asked Ed to look, but we got carried away with super chats. Now I'm looking at your questions. If you care to put it back in, please post them. We didn't get a chance to see the questions in the chat. I asked people to start doing it, and I think I did see quite a few questions go by, but I can't scroll all the way back to see them. A lot of complimentary chats to us, and thank you, Ed, for the Ed. You guys don't understand. Ed puts countless behind the scenes time into the stuff and research, and look, he gives us demonstrations and so forth. Ed is dedicated. He's all in. So thank you. Here's one from Zobe. Ed, you have to have a red Solo cup in each hand as well when you do that. He's got them. Don't tempt him. He's got them close by.
I got them by. You know, there is a bar behind me.
Randy K says thank you. Thank you all. We appreciate it. Thank you to everyone here. Will he be fired after the trial? We hope so, but we don't know. We don't know.
I got one here. Dixie Dawn. Yeah. Can they trace the broken light pieces to the manufacturer similar to the clothes? Yes, that's possible. They can also do an elemental analysis of the plastic to make sure it is exactly chemically the same. And yeah, they can do that. But again, what I was saying, I've said it numerous times, but it seems to fall on deaf ears. When I cracked this, right, it was from the fork side towards the back. So it was this way. Now, if I examine these edges under the microscope, if I examine the edges under the microscopes, you would be able to tell the direction of force applied to this fork to break it. And it's same thing with the lens. Same thing with the lens on a light.
Yeah.
If you crack that, so say it got cracked in the initial car accident in Officer John O'Keefe's driveway. All right. But then say somebody reached in. So when it got cracked initially and maybe a piece broke or she removed a piece, as she said, okay, that force went into the lens and it cracked. Okay. Now, if somebody is reaching in afterwards and pulling out, that direction of force can easily be discerned by studying the edge of the cracks. Now, if you study both edges and you see on one edge, the force is going in, and then on the other edge, the force is coming out, you got a problem here. Okay.
Amen. Yeah, big time. Here's one for me at DutyRon. What happens when the populace loses trust for the courts, police, and justice process?
Right.
It's a big problem, you know, and they're not helping. The Canton and Massachusetts State Police is not helping to reinforce the public. But I can reassure you that this is not common. This is not happening across the United States on a grand scale. Thank God. You have buffoons like this, pockets here and there. I don't remember, Ed, in recent past, seeing something like this on this grand scale. So that's the good news is that this doesn't happen that often. The bad news is this is a big problem and it's unacceptable.
This is another thing here, Nancy, that is a big issue. Okay, I've seen other people on YouTube talk about this, but it's true. Once you crack this lens and the pieces are gone, this whole interior of this light is now exposed to the elements, okay, and the environment that you find yourself in. So when you're driving down the road and you're in the snow, if the snow will wrap around due to the vortices that are created by going through the environment and wrap in there, and then the interior of that lens is now going to get wet with the snow. And in the Northeast, we use salt on our roads to melt the snow and the ice. And a lot of times these jurisdictions pre-salt before the storm, so the salt is already down, and that salt will pick up and get in there as well. And you'll have water stains and salt stains. If you look at the photograph from the last trial of the lens as it was photographed correctly, not the photograph from the Sally Port where somebody took an overexposed photograph and didn't work the camera correctly. But if you look at the lab photograph with the scale in it of the lens, broken taillight, you will see the interior, how interior components are spotless. There's no water stains, there's no salt stains.
There you go.
And the only way that could happen is if the lens was still intact, not allowing that residue to get in there.
Correct. Eric, Jackson can't call any experts, never mind a glass panel expert. Auntie Bev, lifeguard Bev, has said that any and all expert witnesses will be called by the Commonwealth, and then the defense will have a chance to cross-examine them. So he can't do it. So as per the judge. Angela says, Ed and Ron, why is the place where they bring the cars called the Sally Port? Just out of curiosity. Ed, stop laughing.
No, I'm not laughing about the question. That's where they bring their prisoners. So they open one end, they drive in, close it, and then remove the prisoner. But here's what I was laughing about. Lori, you got me. Ed, they don't have microscopes, only leaf blowers and solo cups.
Hey, guys and girls, I want to thank you for hanging out with us for 2 hours and 15 minutes. Usually we try to keep the shows at around an hour, but with this particular one, I think we've been going live every day with the exception of Saturday. We've been live every day for seven days straight now. We started last Monday. I don't think any of them have been an hour or less because it's so hard to go through all this jagaloon nonsense that happens in a given day. It's almost impossible to do this in under 2 hours. So I want to thank the moderators, the replay viewers. If you can right now, please give us the thumbs up. It helps, and it's free to do it. Give us a thumbs up for the algorithm. Make sure you share us. Follow us on all things social media. One word, DutyRon, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, and LinkedIn. You can find us all there. And also, if you can, please tell a friend about Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace. We try our best. Ed is a great teacher, and he does this for a living. He goes around teaching crime scene and evidence collection, weapons of mass destruction, everything under the sun. And I've actually attended one of Ed Wallace's training sessions, and we have a full video series on our Patreon of Ed actually in the live at a location in Rockland County. I stayed in a hotel room. I slept overnight. I had dinner with him and his crew, and I saw the actual truck that brings all the equipment in. A retired cop, and I believe his wife, or maybe single. Cool stuff. If you want to support us off the platform, Patreon's a good way. Buy me a cup of coffee and becoming channel members. It's all a great part of supporting this community. On behalf of Crime Time with DutyRon and Ed Wallace, we want to thank our replay viewers, the moderators, the super chatters, but most importantly, we want to send strength, prayers, and positive vibes to the victim, John O'Keefe, and his family, and those who are loved ones of his and friends. Justice needs to be served, and hopefully the jury this time around gets it right. Ed, I know you have a lot to say about this, but we both feel the same way.
Amen. Hey, I just want to correct one record before I sign off here. Holly Hopes, what Ron was saying is they won't, Judge Lifeguard Bev won't let somebody like me come and testify about the criminal investigation foul-ups and the crime scene foul-ups. Yes, they have dog bite expert. They have the crash experts, and they have some other experts that, you know, there were objections to almost all the experts by Brennan, but those other experts have gotten in past Lifeguard Bev. But someone like me, the retired FBI agent, was they were trying to bring him in for procedural purposes of testifying how such a bad job was done by the Mass State Police. Anyhow, that said, folks, thanks for spending your time with us. Thanks for sharing this 2-hour extravaganza with us. And, you know, you can get your true crime fix anywhere on YouTube you like, and it's an honor to have you here. Please, always stay safe, stay prepared, and watch your six, because you never know. You never know.
It's not your usual bed. Put the hammer down.
Step away from the hammer.
I want to also end this video on the victim here, John O'Keefe. Let's keep police officer John O'Keefe in the forefront. That's what this is all about. So good night from New York as we play this.
Take a moment to remember John O'Keefe, the victim in this case. The Braintree native was a police officer who became the legal guardian of his niece and nephew after an unimaginable family tragedy. Canton Confidential, the Karen Read murder trial. We'll be back right after.
Good night, everybody, and God bless.